Hello, and welcome to Sim Game Steel, and I'm your host Tony. We're here in our winter build of Toronto, and I'm going to show you how to fix and manage traffic flow at an intersection and highway. For our example, we're going to go to the Humber Bay factory and industrial area in the central west part of Toronto. So here we have an intersection that all of the trucks and cars are trying to squeeze out of, and of course, signature to the game, they're all lined up in one line, as if there were no other lanes to use. I'm going to be using the Traffic Manager mod and the lane connector to fix this intersection. I'll leave a link to this mod in the description of this video. If you're playing on console or don't want to use mods in cities, then you should still watch this video. There are going to be pointers that you're going to be able to use about how traffic in the game works and how to fix it. So we see here that there are two lines of vehicles converging into the intersection, going up and to the right. If you look closely, the problem is that they're both converging into the right-hand lane. This is because they have all found this to be the shortest way to their destination. This is also known as the sheeple mentality. But the good thing about the sheeple mentality is that it makes it easier to tell them what to do, right? So we're going to use the Traffic Manager's lane connector feature to force all of the vehicles coming from the top road to go into the left-hand lane if they're turning left. We will then make all of the vehicles going straight or turning right to use the right-hand lane and go into the right-hand lane of the intersection on the opposite side. We will then make all of the vehicles coming from the upper right-hand side road turning left to turn into the left-hand lane on the other side of the intersection. What this will do is separate the traffic by forcing them into separate lanes, allowing these both to continuously flow. Fortunately but intentionally, I have an on-ramp here to the highway that is 2 lanes wide. So now using the lane connectors, I can simply force the right-hand traffic into the right-hand on-ramp, and the left-hand traffic onto the left-hand on-ramp. This will force the 2 streams of traffic coming from both of the roads to stay separated. When you have an industrial area nearby and expect the traffic to and from the highways to be heavier or steady, you should always use the 2-lane highway on-ramps, because you will probably need these. So it's going to take a bit of time for this traffic to start to clear up, but we can already see that it is starting to do so. There's also going to be continuously a heavy stream of traffic that is going to be going onto the stretch of the highway. I'm not going to use the lane connectors to force traffic into the 2 highway lanes, as longer term that will not be a solution because of the heavy volume. Instead, I'm going to make changes to the entire highway and fix the traffic on the highway all on its own. I'm going to start by widening the highway to create an additional lane, so it will now have 3 lanes. This will allow the vehicles coming onto the highway to first speed up and then merge into their lanes, allowing the vehicles to maintain their speed more often. Then I'm going to use the lane connector to force all the vehicles coming onto the highway from the on-ramp into the right and center lanes respectively. And I'm going to force all of the vehicles that are coming down the highway in the right lane into the left lane. This will ensure that all of the vehicles can keep on flowing through this section of the highway. I can see that vehicles are coming from the other direction and making a left-hand turn into the on-ramp, but I'm not getting too concerned about that, as there are only a handful of vehicles doing so it's not making that big of a problem, so I'm not going to give it too much attention. I'm going to use the lane connector to make sure that vehicles coming down the road from the top can go through this intersection. I'm going to allow them to go straight from both lanes because I think that the traffic is going to be light enough to allow this. If the traffic was heavier, then the vehicles in the right-hand lane traveling straight would cut off the vehicles in the left-hand lane that want to turn right onto the highway on-ramp. But now, because of this injection of traffic onto the highway, there is now a traffic jam on the highway. It clears up for a moment, but then it comes back. As we go along here and take a look, there is an interchange with a problem. It is backing up here and there. So I'm going to have to go through the highway and fix the traffic flow on this entire stretch of the highway, because this is not going to go away on its own. What will eventually happen if these trucks are allowed to slow down and just sit there on the highway is that goods won't be delivered. This will lead to not enough goods and will ultimately reduce the revenues of my factories and industries. I'm going to start at the end of the highway where the highway interchanges. We will again use the lane connector to force all the vehicles into the right-hand lane that want to take the right off-ramp, and then force all the vehicles into the left-hand lane that want to take the left off-ramp. Then I'm going to use the Control S on each node to make each lane changing point to only be able to go straight. This will disallow vehicles to change lanes once they're on the highway. Guess what that will do? It will force vehicles to go into the lane according to which off-ramp they're going to be getting off of, right from when they get onto the highway. This will split up the traffic, so that they are using both lanes and not blocking the highway all at a single point like they usually do when trying to switch lanes. I'm going to remove any of the lane connectors on the on-ramps of the highways. This is because I want the oncoming vehicles to go into whichever lane they need to get into as soon as they get onto the highway. I'm going to also force the right lane to exit from the highway. At the same note, I'm also going to make it optional for vehicles to keep their lane going straight or go into the right lane at this point. This will make it so that all the vehicles that come onto the highway that are going to be going to the end of the highway or not getting off at the next exit will need to be traveling in the left lane or the pass lane. In other words, all the vehicles in the right lane will be exiting the highway at the next exit. You can of course adjust the amount of exits to include in the right lane. For example, if you see that there are too many vehicles in the left lane, you could make it so that vehicles that will be exiting in the following 2 right exits can be in the right lane, and so on. This is obviously not an infallible solution, as vehicles coming onto the highway still need to cross lanes to get to the left lane. However, the amount of traffic management and regulation that you need to apply really depends and varies on each individual situation. So here we have a problem with vehicles all piled up in one long line on the off-ramp blocking traffic. And do you want to guess what the problem is? All of the vehicles turning left and right are again just using one lane instead of 2. So we're going to do the same thing and use lane connectors to force them to use both the left and right lanes. This will separate them and get the traffic flowing again. So let's take a look at the highway and the overall traffic flow on the nearby roads around this industrial area. It looks like the traffic is moving a lot more smoothly now than it was before. I realize that I have made this look a lot easier than it actually is. The truth is that it takes a lot of practice and experience to fix and manage traffic in the game. But the most important thing about fixing traffic is identifying what the problem is. You do that by going to the beginning of where the problem is, starting to fix it there, and solving the problem that way at its source. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that it's helped you in getting you on your way to solving your traffic problems in your city, and has given you some ideas to use. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, even if you play the game on console or vanilla with no mods, it is absolutely essential to separate the lanes of traffic to better their flow, and that applies as a rule either way. If you have found this video helpful, then give it a like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, then please do so. That way you can be notified when new videos are released. Speaking of other videos, take a look through the other tutorial videos on the channel because there are a lot of other interesting ones that I'm sure that you'll find helpful. Until next time, happy skylining!